two videos of women talking about the phenomenon. And the first was a woman saying, like, men don't approach women anymore. Why don't they? Like, why won't men just approach women anymore? Like, women like to get asked out. And then immediately after that video was another woman talking about a guy approaching her and how unpleasant that whole situation was, and him and her just ripping the guy.
Well, watch and or listen while we tackle tough and sometimes taboo topics filmed live over drinks. This platform allows us to articulate our thoughts and challenge our beliefs. This is SipTalk. Grab a drink and enjoy.
All right, we are live. This is SipTalk, episode 277. My name is Justin DiGiulio out of our new podcast studio, DiGiulio or SipTalk Studios. We're still working on the name in Midtown Manhattan, steps to MSG, Penn Station. Joined by James, the Bosnator Boswell, philosopher, philanderer, philanthropist, philatelist, phlebotomist, a man full of phlegm. James, how's it hanging down there in nighttime, not so sunny South Carolina?
Dude, I am so frustrated. I've been cycling a bunch over the last couple weeks and like trying to do more exercise and everything. I go for a bike ride on Tuesday night, and afterwards my shoulder is just killing me. I don't even know how you injure your shoulder cycling, because it's not like I crashed. Like if I fell off the bike and landed on the shoulder, then it's easy to like connect the dots. Here I can't even figure it out. But like, dude, I can't even like get down to like make a bridge for like to extend my arm out to play pool.
Really?
No, it's that bad. Like I can't raise my arm. Like this is as high as I can raise my arm.
First off, by the way, those of you who are watching and listening to us, we generally kind of have a little conversation before the podcast. We kind of like work on our segues into the topic today. Today's topic is dating in different cities across the U.S. and which are the best cities to date in, which are the worst cities to date in, what are the metrics in which we measure a good city to date in, and the metrics we measure a bad city, the metrics.
Right. Well,
somehow we ended up on you, because I like a little banter. I just don't understand now. When you bicycle, do you have? You hold up here? You hold down here? Are you elbows together?
I usually am riding on just like traditional drop handlebars, so my hands are either on the hoods or in the drops. I have a triathlon bike where I can
curly kind of what's it called? Like not rhino, but what's the other animal?
They're just drop bars.
But what's the animal I'm thinking of? The ram. The ram, which they curl down. So you hold the lower ones?
I'm either on the hoods on top or I'm in the drops just down below, because I can reach the shifters either way.
So for those of you who know the bicycles if you know the bicycle where the handlebar is straight, it's like a mountain bike or just kind of like a cruiser bike. The bicycles with the handles that kind of circle over like a ram's horns are more like street bikes and racing bikes. And you're going to go onto the lower level when you're looking for aerodynamics. You're going upper level when you're in a place where you probably need to brake more often or just grab the handlebars and move around a little bit. You're going to the lower level when you're cruising. So what you're saying is that on your last bike ride, you were lower level?
I mix between, I alternate between being on the hoods or in the drops. It depends on a number of things. But for whatever reason, like my shoulder just fucking hurt afterwards. And then like I had to play a match in league last night in pool, and like every single shot, like I was grimacing in pain because I like we were short on players.
So you're right-handed, and this is you point. It looked like you pointed to your.
This is my left arm. This is my left arm.
I see that. Yeah.
Right. So
the other one outside.
Yeah.
The right
so like normally, if you're in a bridge, like you're gonna have you're gonna extend it all the way out.
Yeah.
And so, like, to do that, like, and your arm's going to be up because you're bent over. And, like, that kind of motion with my left shoulder just isn't working right now. But let's move on from that. Like, I want to work our way into the dating city tier list by...
Right. I'm going to open a drink here. I'm going to open a drink so we can get into this.
I got my PBR. But I watched a video... the other week, which was talking about, like, struggles that men are facing right now and, like, why men seem to be having so much harder of a time than women. And
well, hold up, I'm gonna say, I work with many women. I think dating is a struggle on both sides. Obviously, we're dudes, so we're gonna cover the dude side. But I just want to, kind of lead with my understanding is dating is tough from both sides.
Yeah. But I want to focus on one specific phenomenon that came up in the video, and it was showing how like generationally, especially like Gen Z, like a large number of Gen Z men have never once approached a woman to like ask them out. Not once.
And you're talking about 15-year-olds, 16 year
No,
olds.
like 20 to 30-year-olds.
You're talking about 20 to 30-year-old men have never once.
A significant portion of them, like maybe like 36% or something. I'd have to rewatch the video for the exact numbers, and we can link to the video so you can watch it for yourselves and draw your own conclusions.
Oh,
But hold on, let me just like so. After showing these stats, they showed two videos of women talking about the phenomenon, and the first was a woman saying like men don't approach women anymore. Why don't they? Like why won't men just approach women anymore? Like women like to get asked out. And then immediately after that video was another woman talking about a guy approaching her and how unpleasant that whole situation was, and him and her just ripping the guy.
well,
Maybe rightfully so, but it
yeah.
was just like,
Well, so that's where we are as a society, and we haven't really even done it. We've touched on the talking point about population leveling off and decline. I think we're very much going to see, as a real estate agent, I'm a little worried for my career because we're going to have a oversupply of housing, especially outside of New York City, where the influx of people is lower, but people are ending up in fewer relationships. Marriage rates are very low. Childbirth rate is very low. And now we're talking about men even approaching women, which, by the way, traditionally men approach women, women don't approach men. So
yeah.
We have a systemic problem that is going to exacerbate the three things I just mentioned.
So
housing supply, population.
The first thing I wanted to ask is, why don't men approach women? And, or why are we seeing less of it? And my first answer is,
first off, let's acknowledge that it's a problem. Have you noticed in your life, you're almost 40 years old, that your single friends, and maybe even, I mean, I have a lot of friends who have been in a relationship over the years who will still approach women, but I've noticed over the last 10, 15 years that kind of the prerogative to go out and meet women has decreased for men.
I could say for me, I am much less likely today to approach a woman out in public or go out with the specific intention of trying to meet a woman today compared to 10 or 15 years ago. And like the difference is like 90 to 99% lower.
Really?
Yeah.
So I'm not a single guy, so that's not my prerogative when I go out.
I am single, and like I still I find approaching women to be stressful and unpleasant.
So being a salesperson and somebody who owns a real estate brokerage and has to recruit people and meet clients, I'm super introverted. Obviously, nobody believes it because we do a podcast. I talk to people, but my default is not going to a public place and meeting people. However, I understand that my role when I go to these places is to meet people, collect phone numbers, pass out business cards, shake hands, kiss babies, minus the kiss babies part. But I almost kind of hit a certain. I go a place and I don't want to do it. I want to sit. I want to go to the bar, not talk to anybody. But I almost have to flip a switch and say, well, I'm here for a reason. I have to go out of my comfort zone and meet people, and I just put on that persona and go and do it. So what you're saying is that people are going places and they're not thinking, okay, I'm a single dude. I need to meet people here. Let's go out and do it.
I don't know. I can only speak for myself. I don't talk to other dudes about whether or not they approach women. It's just not a conversation that happens.
But as a man who is admittedly lightly on the spectrum, would you consider yourself somebody who's better than average with conversation with females?
Once I get it started, yes.
So, but the issue you're saying is the approach.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. But do you think the approach is the reason why men aren't talking to women?
Yes.
And why do you think that is?
Well,
fear of rejection.
So that's the first one. It's like, just doing a cold approach is harrowing. And yeah, you're putting yourself out there for rejection and humiliation and embarrassment. And it sucks.
Okay. By the way, we're going to break this down city by city across the United States.
All right. Here's the other thing. And I've got a short story to tell about this one. Is like I think now more than ever, men feel like they're fighting against certain perceptions of them before they've even had a chance to say anything material. And I'll give you an example.
Okay.
A couple months ago, I matched with a girl on Bumble, and we matched on a Saturday night, like 8 o'clock or so. We exchanged a few messages that night, and then I didn't hear anything from her until the next morning. She shoots me a message the next morning. We
So you
talk back and
match,
forth.
and with Bumble, the girl has to message the guy first.
Yeah, and she messaged me first, and we had a few messages that night. Didn't really go anywhere, but like she messaged me again the next morning, and I told her like, and eventually I told her I'm free Sunday night, which would be later on that night.
Okay.
And like we can grab a drink or grab food somewhere. And she said she wasn't free that day, and she's like, okay, I can do Tuesday instead. So we ended up meeting on Tuesday. And
Tuesday is a date night. All right. Tuesday to grab drinks. Interesting.
it ended up not being drinks. It ended up just being like splitting an entree, but it was fine. Like the point is, we ended up
splitting an entree. By the way, like quasi intimate. Just saying.
Sure, but like, so we ended up dating for a couple weeks, and like, so like 2 weeks in, we were talking about like the first messages that we sent to each other, and she said to me that when I told her Sunday morning that I was free Sunday evening, her immediate thought was, "Oh, he's just trying to get it in," and I was like, "That wasn't my intention at all."
Trying to sleep with her.
Yeah, and I was like, "That wasn't my intention at all," and she's like, "I know that now." But
interesting, because I kind of have mixed feelings about. It's been a long time since I've had to kind of do the dating scene, but my perspective as a warm-blooded male was that kind of my objective was always to kind of go for the goal, but almost have more respect for the people that slow things down. Does that make sense? As a guy, I was kind of pretty clear.
Yeah, but it's the whole perception that like as soon as you start talking to a girl, like she is assuming that you are only interested in one thing.
Okay, but I think but let's reverse to the fact that we're both animals. Okay, we have testosterone, we have animalistic desires. Okay, you see somebody you're attracted to. That's step one. You have to be attracted to somebody. Step two is you have to peacock around or find some way to have conversation, right? You see somebody you're interested in, you have to get their attention and start conversation.
Attraction, comfort, close.
Attraction, okay, so that's seeing somebody you like, and then
comfort,
getting their attention, and
comfort,
and comfort is saying I'm not just here to try to reproduce with you, right?
Yeah.
And that was the next part.
Close can be getting a number and making a date for getting a number, making a date to see each other again, a kiss, whatever. Like,
but I think as a man, it's like you need to be what's the word I'm looking for? Smooth and not be an asshole. But at the end of the day, like you see somebody you're attracted to, your hormones tell you I want to sleep with this person.
Yeah, but like, let's just hold on a second.
You can be in a place in your life where you're looking for a relationship, this, that, or the next. But at the beginning of the day, you wake up with hormones that say, hey, like if I see somebody I'm attracted to, I'm going to act on it. By the way, like when you're in a relationship, you still see people you're attracted to. You just hold off on those hormones. When you're single and you have an objective, you say, all right, here's somebody I'm attracted to. I want to move closer to the next step.
It just makes me think of a joke. Like, when you're single, all you see are people in relationships. When you're in a relationship, all you see are hookers.
All right, so hit me with the next point that you're making. I'm just saying, men and women have animalistic instinct. Generally, men are the aggressor.
Yeah. All right. So next,
the premise what we're talking about is that men are now pussies and not approaching women.
So next reason, and this is kind of ties to the first, but like I think especially like after the Me Too era, a lot of men paid attention to what women were saying about how men were acting around them.
Men study what they believe that women want. And by the way, what women say that they want, everybody knows this. What people say they want isn't really.
Yeah, let's not go too deep into that. But basically, like as a result of the Me Too movement and listening to what women were saying, like a lot of men are afraid of being viewed as a creep.
Okay.
And so like how do you avoid being viewed as a creep? Well, just don't approach women. That way you can't possibly like don't give the opportunity for creepiness to set in.
So you think men's fear in approaching women comes from them having a fear of being a creep?
Some. I'm not saying that every single one of these is all encompassing or all inclusive or applicable to all men, but I think that each one of these is applicable to some degree or another and all, put together, yeah. The next one is like I really believe this one is like a lot of times women don't make it easy to approach them.
Well, have you ever met a woman in a group of friends? The friends actually kind of repel other people, right? Like
Yep. I can think of shockingly few examples where like I can only think of one in my entire life where there was a really cute girl that was with a group of friends and like one of
the
her
friends
friends like was like, hey, like my friend thinks you're cute, you should talk to her. So like sometimes it can
but
work in your favor,
that's an
but
outlier.
in my entire life that's happened once.
So we're up against a couple of things. What you're saying is that women don't appreciate being approached, and I think many women will say, "Yeah, like that's." I disagree, but it's also kind of true. Like I only want to be approached by somebody who's super attractive, who's also super slick. The problem is that like most people are not super attractive or super slick. So you just have to exist amongst the general population.
Yeah.
And you've got to develop a way to deal with those things. Also, men afraid not of offending a woman, which by the way is a growing fear, is what you're saying, is that men are afraid to approach a woman and offend her. I think actually bigger, and it was always an issue, is men being afraid of rejection.
I would agree. I never said that wasn't a case.
And a bigger fear of rejection now than they ever were, on a top of offending.
Okay, sure. I can
so
buy that.
We got a couple of factors working against.
All right, I got one more, and
right.
and this again, these all play together. But like because women almost never approach men or ask them out, like many, if not most men, feel like they aren't attractive to women at all because they have no like evidence to suggest otherwise. You know what I mean?
I don't know. As a straight guy, I look around. I don't think men are attractive, so I just feel like, like, don't expect a woman to be attracted to you.
No, but like,
and if she says no, you got to respect it. Like that's well, the way that I like. Yeah, she gets shot. If she says no, respect it. Move on with life.
But like, if you're a dude who goes through your life and no woman ever approaches you, and like you have to do all the work, like how are you going to feel like you're attractive to women?
All right, so be an unemployed person, sit on your couch every day and wait for a job to come to you and say we want to hire you. That's not how it works.
No, I know.
You've got but this is the sentiment that is not kind of out in the zeitgeist. People I'm talking about, you men need to approach women.
Well, I just look at this as like
women can't approach men. I'm just saying that kind of men need to approach women and just deal with being rejected.
Yeah, but
I mean, there are signs in advance you can look for, read body language, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not saying you need to walk up to a random woman in a bar or a fucking library or a coffee shop and say, do you want to be in a relationship or do you want to go on a date? You just meet people, engage their interest in you by watching body language, which is not super difficult to comprehend.
I guess I would just reference kind of one of the core principles of behavioral economics, which is people respond to incentives. And I think a lot of men are feeling like they are being disincentivized from approaching women for a variety of reasons. And the incentive of meeting a woman and being able to potentially get into a relationship no longer has the draw strong enough to overcome the increasing the increasing negativity around having to approach women.
Well, I just think that it is testicle shrinking and men being more pussies.
I think it's men being rational actors.
Well, of course, but But if you want to live an exciting life, you have to take risk. So yeah, if you want to be rational every step of the way, like you drive everywhere 40 miles an hour. But if you want to make change in your life, you got to take risk.
True.
And we're seeing a lot less risk because of fear. We're also seeing a lot lower testosterone, et cetera, et cetera. So let's talk about cities. Let's get into. Right. By the way, I just want to mention that the bar trivia question this week, 277, is still on vacation. I've got some cool trivia questions coming up. Actually, I've been building my artillery of trivia questions. So we got some good ones coming up. Not all brain teasers, some really easy riddles. I'm excited for them. But right now, bar trivia is still on vacation. So visit SipTalkPodcast.com. You can buy us a drink if you're feeling generous. You can answer past bar trivia questions. Answer the most recent bar trivia question for a chance to win some bar merch, some SipTalk merch. You get a pint glass, a shot glass, a dog T-shirt, a beach blanket. We get a lot of cool SipTalk merch. If you answer the bar trivia question right, we'll message you and we'll ask you which you want.
All right. So when I was in San Diego a little over a month ago, I was talking with my brother about, he was saying that he thinks that I would have a much easier time dating out in San Diego, which I fully agreed with. And it got me thinking about, like, what makes a city better or worse for dating? And then I started to think, okay, let's rank some of the cities in this country in terms of, like, how would they score? And we came up with a list. And so you want to talk about some of the criteria that we use to measure?
In terms of like the grading, like S as in top tier city.
Yeah. It goes like F through A, and then S is like above A.
And so you got F, like you got A, B, C. We have D. We have D on our grades.
Yeah.
So we got D. We got F. A, B, C, D, F. And then we also have S, which is a superior city, which is kind of unmatched because the opportunity is kind of unlimited. And what I tell people, and we're kind of, are we counting New York City as an S city?
New York City is an S tier city.
Is because you have this effectively like unlimited supply of people that match your criteria. Like it would take a lifetime to even, you would be 85 years old by the time you kind of got a quarter of the way through the pool of people that might be well suited for you.
Yeah. And so like the things that we looked at were going to be like, what's the population of the city? How diverse is the city? What kind of activities are available in the city? What's the culture in the city? And then like other downsides like cost, like factor in as well. But mostly,
do we get into religion and education?
That goes with culture.
So the higher the religion, the earlier the marriage age.
I learned that when I moved to the South.
The higher the education, the later the marriage age.
Yeah, I also learned that when I moved to the South.
The higher the income, the later the marriage rate.
Yep, I learned all of this when I moved to the South.
And the more population, the higher the population, the lower the marriage rate. Basically, the more options people have, the less likely they are to. I mean, this is a paradox of choice, right? The more choices there are, the more difficult it is to make a decision.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into it, and let's start with New York City.
Okay, why not? Okay.
New York City, S tier. It is one of only two cities that I gave this grade to.
Of course you said it because I'm here.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm off the market, folks.
New York City, you've got a huge population. It skews a little bit younger because it's a big city. It has draws of practically every industry on earth. There's an active modeling and acting industry, so you've got lots of attractive people, lots of active people, generally higher income. The culture is great.
But the culture is obviously super diverse. But when it comes to what people want, they're much more direct. People will tell you what they want early on and fast.
There's not a lot of guesswork that you have to do compared to other cities. And I'll give another quick example. We're at one of your favorite bars in Harlem, and I sat down next to, like, there were two girls. I sat down next to one of them. I started talking to her, ordered a drink, and like 90 seconds into the conversation, she says, "I'm not really sure what you're looking for tonight, but like, it's not happening." I was like, great. You just saved me like 20 minutes and at least 20 bucks.
Here's what we were just talking about a while ago. It's like fear of rejection. And you somebody said that to you and you were like, that's great news. That's what I wanted to hear.
Well, it's not what I wanted to hear, but like,
I mean, but no, that's in this interaction, like glad we cut to the chase, because if I was here for another 40 minutes, I would have burned all my other opportunities.
right. But like the thing is, that's the directness in New York that I really appreciate. Is like people will not in the South. That interaction would have gone very differently because there's a politesse down here where like women are cultured to not say that kind of a thing to a man because it's rude. And so I would have been talking with her for 40 minutes, 60 minutes, and she would have had no interest in me, but she still would have entertained the conversation because it's what you're supposed to do down here. Whereas in New York, I was able to move on without my feelings being hurt.
But you don't think the longer the conversation goes, the more opportunity there is to sell and persuade?
Yeah, but, and you know this as well as I do, is like when you start talking to somebody, you pretty much have made up your mind whether or not you find them attractive within the first.
Well, exactly. And we talked about it today in the sales class I taught this morning about first impressions.
Right. And so it's like you might be able to overcome that by smooth talking, a good conversation, but chances are you're not.
I mean, first impressions are obviously they're weighted the most. So what you're saying is New York City, you have a plethora of options. People are more direct, and you have more attractive people here.
And you also have tons of activities.
Which,
so
by the way,
whatever
you don't need it, because there's more attractive people here doesn't mean there's not unattractive people here. Like,
oh, sure.
If you're not a 7, 8, 9, or 10, if you're a 4, 5, or 3, or 1, there are other 1s and 4s and 5s and 3s. Like, you know, but of course, when we're not even talking about online dating, where we've mentioned this before, where that gets skewed, which affects.
Well, actually, even online dating in New York is great because everybody is so close to you, you are going to be able to find matches, and chances are they're not more than like a 15 or a 20-minute subway ride from you.
But the downside is there's more options, but
more competition.
There's more competition, and there's more other options. So if things aren't perfect, which everybody who's ever been in a relationship knows, things aren't perfect. There's an easy escape plan and an easy replacement plan in New York City, which you need to decide if you're in a relationship. You need to decide if you love this person and you value the relationship. And by the way, like, you can take that exit strategy, but it does not mean the next person is not going to come.
Yeah, but the thing is, once you're in a relationship, you have one thing working really strongly in your favor, and that's sunk cost fallacy.
We're talking about that freaking today.
All right, what's what you want to hit next?
That's not what you want to rely on. All right.
One last thing about New York City: tons of activities to do. Literally anything you're interested in, you can find there.
Oh, I mean, if you want chess, if you want books, if you want turtles, you got fucking every club under the sun.
Yeah.
You want to hit Boston next? I don't know what list you're on. We get kind of.
I'm using your filtered list.
Okay, so Boston.
B+.
And what's the difference between a city like New York City and a city like Boston? What's the biggest?
Boston is smaller and more insular.
Insular, I think, is probably the biggest aspect of which makes it a B+, not even an A or A-.
It's far less diverse. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a diverse city, but it's not as diverse as New York. It's colder. It's to me, and people from Boston are going to be mad at me about this one, but Boston is New York's little brother.
I like Boston. I might even like Boston a little more than New York. I don't know, but it is a smaller version of New York. It's more cliquey, which is insular. Like, you have the diversity, but they don't intermingle as much.
Nope.
And
less activities compared to New York.
And yeah, I mean, it's cold. Like, so people don't just, like, in the wintertime, you're just going you're not going exploring. You're not putting yourself in, I don't know, there's a lot to do in Boston, but you're not forced to do it as much, I think, as New York. I don't even know how the fuck you would explain it. Like, it's a smaller city. Is it population-wise it's smaller? It's a smaller city.
Yeah, it feels less inclusive than New York.
And I feel like in New York, no matter what race you are, what socioeconomic status you are, like, almost everything is at your fingertips. Whereas in Boston, if you don't fit the mold, you're not participating.
Yeah, it's just less inclusive, like I said.
But because it's a big city, because it's a high population, because there's lots to do, it's still going to be B+.
Yeah, B+ is a good grade.
It's a lot of things going on there. So
and it still benefits from the northern culture. People are very direct, and I weight that probably more heavily than most people would.
So let's talk about another high grade city.
Well, the other city that gets an S is LA.
Yeah, I feel like it's a great city for dating, but it's a tough city to settle down in.
Oh yeah, but that's not what we're talking about.
I mean, you have the most attractive people in LA, but you also have the most fake people in LA, and that's the exact opposite shit that you just said to me about you sitting down at a bar and somebody saying, "I don't know what you're looking for, but I'm not interested." You're not going to get that in LA. I mean, you might, but I feel like you're going to get led on, and they're going to try to figure out what's in it for them before they're like, "Yeah, I'm not interested."
Yeah, maybe LA gets an A or an A+, but like there's still a ton of activity. It's Southern California. The climate's perfect. There's tons of activities. You can like within an hour drive of or 2 hour drive of LA, you can be in the mountains, you can be in snow, you can be at the beach.
Well, the people are better looking. They have better abs. Kind of same thing with Miami, which is why I don't know why like Miami is actually a lower tier city. I think Miami as an A. We got
but it's because it's in Florida. And Florida right now, just like the culture in Florida is rough.
Well, I mean, you got lower IQs in Miami, but better beach bodies, right?
So I think that LA's got some pretty good beach bodies too. But
they're both cities that are big on looks. They're both cities that are big on status, kind of similar to New York. But I think New York is not as focused on looks.
No, you know what?
I'm not saying it isn't.
You know what? I'm downgrading LA. LA gets an A.
Yeah, I feel like LA doesn't need to be above Miami.
I think LA and Miami are comparable, which is why LA gets an A. New York gets an S. New York still stays as the number one city.
What James is saying is every time he comes here, he gets laid.
No.
Not every time. Okay, most times. He's laughing. It's true. But I think, I would say LA and Miami have better looking people, but I think dating is harder. I think you have more competition based on superficial shit. You have people who are less direct. And then also, if you're not kind of the upper echelon or don't present as the upper echelon, your chances are much lower.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas New York City, like just need to relate to somebody, and you don't need to necessarily be, Uncle Moneybags.
Right. So like Miami and LA are going to have a higher superficiality index.
Yeah, I think and that's why they're not S. They're A+.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about my city,
Charleston. So there's a medium population city. I think it's a high population for it's a decent medium to high population density.
Medium population density because the city's actually like it's the metro area is right around like 800, 900,000, but it's spread out. And so here, the city that Charleston gets a C-.
But what's pulling it down? Not the population.
Medium-sized population, so it doesn't count for or against it.
Okay.
It's the Southern culture, which makes it...
Medium population just kind of puts it at like a B.
Yeah, basically. Actually, no, like medium population would be like you're starting at a C. Because like low population, you're starting at a D or an F.
Yeah. Okay, so medium population.
You're starting at like a C or a C+ for the population.
Okay, now the culture.
Culture is like a D.
Now what's the culture?
Southern
culture is like dating and meeting people and having fun.
No,
interest in education and learning and connection and careers.
Got the problem. The problem, and I say this as a jaded 39-year-old.
I'm giving you the alley oop here. So
I know, but is that people tend to marry much earlier on. When I first moved down here, I was 22, and I was working at a big box retail store. And I was in the back cracking some freight with one of my coworkers who I think was a manager. But we were just making small talk while we were doing work. And I asked her what she was doing over the weekend. And she was like, "Oh, I'm going to go furniture shopping with my husband." And I was just like, "What?"
And she was how old?
Like my age. She was like maybe a year older than me. She was like 22 or 23. And I was like, "You're going furniture shopping with your husband?"
So the marriage rate is much lower. So basically people
get much higher.
No, I'm sorry. Marriage age is much lower.
Yeah.
The marriage rate is much higher in the other cities.
Yeah.
Religion,
much stronger influence.
stronger, which of course kind of makes people want to marry earlier.
Yep.
And
A much higher density of single parents because people have kids more often here.
So what do we say? The higher the education level, the fewer kids, the lower the marriage rate. The lower the education level, which is not downtown Charleston, but Charleston as a whole, lower education rate. Now, obviously, downtown Charleston has a couple of universities, so that kind of skews it a little bit. But
yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to talk shit about south of the Mason-Dixon line.
I will.
But you live there. I don't want to be the one to talk the shit. You live there, and you like it there. You like the warm weather. You like being south of the Mason-Dixon line.
No, I don't really like it.
I mean, religion, education, culture, like these all kind of work against dating. Unless, of course, you're a super conservative religious person who's 19 years old who wants to get married to another Mormon.
Oh, we're going to get to that. That's Utah.
I mean, you know the time that I dated the Mormon person who basically wanted to get married like 2 weeks into knowing each other.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about another southern city.
Okay.
Atlanta.
Now, Atlanta is much more close to LA because of the movies and films, or New York City because of the population and the culture than it is to Charleston. Charleston, old time. Charleston, you're going to have like horse and buggies in the streets. Atlanta, like you might get a little bit of that, but like that's not their main culture. Atlanta's culture is like hip hop, progressiveness.
Yeah. So Atlanta, I gave a B-.
Why a minus, not a B+?
The diverse population, a high population and a diverse population definitely helps. But
so it's not as diverse.
You
have a lot. So in New York City, you have the most. Like Jackson Heights, Queens is actually the most diverse place on earth because you have the culture.
So Atlanta's diversity isn't on the par of New York City, but it's still a very diverse city.
Well, it's mostly black and white, I feel like.
Yeah, but that's still more diverse than a lot of cities.
Sure.
So I'm saying the diverse population helps. The city's super spread out and traffic is awful. The activities in Atlanta aren't quite as good. You still have the Southern culture. It's not as severe in Atlanta as it is in Charleston, but it's still there. And
so you think the spread out works against the dating scene?
Yeah.
Because commuting to somebody, I mean, listen, I've lived in New York City for many years. Dating somebody in a different borough is almost impossible. And that might be like 2.5 miles away, by the way.
Right. So imagine if it was 30.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying like Atlanta's super spread out.
I lived in upstate New York where like you might date somebody who lives like 30 or 40 miles away. And that would be like a 30 or 40 minute trip to go see them, which is not bad. If you're in New York City and somebody lives 2.5 miles away, it could be an hour and 45-minute trip to see them.
Well, right. And like with Atlanta, because their traffic is awful all the time, like 30 miles in Atlanta could be like a 90-minute drive. So, and I remember, dude, seriously, I was at a soccer tournament in Atlanta and like we had to get up and be at the fields at like 7:30 in the morning on a Sunday. And so, we're on the road at like 6:45 in the morning on a Sunday and the highways are slammed. Like we were able to get there, like we were able to move, like it wasn't backed up and like traffic jammed, but it was still like heavy. And I was like, who is on the road at 7 o'clock in the morning?
So why does it have a high grade but not an A+?
B-.
Why does it have a B- is like my high school kind of average score. I consider myself a decent student. By the way, I never did homework. I was a bad student.
No,
I thought I was more intelligent than most. So
Atlanta scores better than Charleston because it's got a higher population.
So population, we're saying, is kind of a weighted average that is like dragging these cities up, right?
Well, population helps a lot. It gives you more options.
Opportunity, but also it works against relationships. The more opportunity, the paradox of choice, the harder it is to end up in a relationship.
Population is more of a positive than it is a negative.
I agree.
All right, let's talk about another city that I've been to recently.
Okay, and is that San Diego?
It sure is.
Okay, and why do you have San Diego rated as an A+? To me, San Diego, San Francisco sound to me like trending super gay. I don't know. I've never been there, but I just feel like they're super gay cities.
San Diego and San Francisco are totally different.
Okay, how? Enlighten me. I don't know. I don't know anything about the left coast. I know LA is full of fake people that are good looking.
San Diego is my favorite city in this country, and it's not close. Like it's everybody there. Everybody there just like day to day, like people just feel like they're in a good mood. Like I was walking back from grabbing groceries, and I was just walking on the sidewalk.
You just gonna say, yeah, go ahead.
Like I was just like minding my own business, and there's a dude coming the other way on the sidewalk, walking his dog. And as he walks by me, like he puts his arm up for a high five, and I gave him a high five, and we just both went on our ways. I was like, yeah, it's like high five. We're both.
You don't think that's because he wanted your dick? He just
no.
So by the way, if that happened in New York, first off, you are more likely to be told to go fuck yourself by a passing stranger. Okay. Also, if somebody extends their hand to give you a high five, there's a high chance they have some type of hypodermic needle in their hand, or they're fucking crazy and they want to kill you. So it's wild to me that you pass a stranger, they offer you. I mean, it's not wild because I only exist in New York City, but I just know that scenario in New York City is actually scary. You walk by somebody that's trying to give you a high five. You walk by somebody that's trying to give you a high five, like they're trying to stab you with a needle, or they're crazy, or like who knows.
No, in San Diego, like this kind of works for and against them because, like, yeah, like they're a little bit more trusting of people than New York City, which is nice because it's easier to start conversations because people are just generally friendlier and less rude. And then New York, now, like I don't mind the New York rudeness, I grew up in it, but a lot of people do.
Well, but also New York City is like that. So if you are a single person standing in an elevator in New York City, another person gets on, you don't say anything. You don't make eye contact. You say nothing. Now, what you're doing actually is respecting their space. And the thing about New York City is that you have to be respectful of other people's personal space because there's such a limited supply of it, right? So you meet a stranger in New York City, it's respectful to say nothing. Now, in any other city, you get on an elevator with somebody, you say, hi, how are you? I'm Justin. How are your kids? I like cheese. What's your favorite cheese? Do you like to go fishing? And that's okay. If you said that,
one of the best lines I've ever delivered.
They call 311.
One of the best lines
I know this story.
I've ever delivered was in an elevator in New York City.
In my office, I think. In my office.
It was. Like I get in an elevator, I press the button to go down to the lobby. The elevator goes up. Some random dude steps on. Elevator goes down. Random dude steps off. Super cute chick comes into the elevator. She presses the button for the lobby. I look down at the button. I look at her. I was like, huh, thought I already pressed that. But some days I'll just hang out in an elevator all day long to see who I meet.
And she said, here's my number.
After a few minutes.
That's when but of course, you threw her off her game because most people in New York City are not even talking to people in the elevator. Whereas a city like San Diego, what you're saying is so I got this weird thing, now that I live in the suburbs in New Jersey. The weird thing about New Jersey is you got kind of two types of people where you're in the line at the grocery store with your cart and there's somebody behind you, somebody in front of you. In New York, if you talk to the person behind you in front of you, they think you're psychotic. In New Jersey, half of them invite it, half of them think you're psychotic because New Jersey's so proximity close to New York City. Where we grew up in Albany, or where my mom lived in Schoharie County, which is basically like cow fields and country. When you go to the grocery store, if you don't talk to the people in the line, like you are a closet living homebody, right? You must talk to the other people and tell them about your kids and what your favorite, I don't know, zebra cartoon is, or like. It's so weird for me to talk to strangers where we actually talk about shit.
Yeah.
Like I'll be like, oh, how's the weather today is nice. And then yeah, it sure is. Where did you go this summer? And I'm like, what we mean? Why the fuck you asking me where I went? What's the deal, man? Why you asking me where I fucking went? But which is why that's my New Yorker side of things. Like, why is this stranger asking me where I went this summer? Whereas if you're in the suburbs or in the whatever else, people entertain that kind of stuff. So what you're saying is that
San Diego, here's why it gets high marks. There's tons of activities in San Diego. It's got a high population. It's got an open-minded culture. It's got
lots of frisbee leagues. Yeah.
lots of friendly people, high degree of like fitness priority. Like so many people there care about their fitness, and
Right, yeah.
yeah. The only downside with San Diego, besides like the cost and everything else, is like
High cost of living.
super high cost of living, but not as bad as New York. But the only downside with San Diego is sometimes like the openness can go a little bit too far, and that brings us to San Francisco.
Okay, which has a higher openness, I feel like.
So San Francisco, high population, lots of activities, beautiful setting, open-minded culture, high cost, but like it's so San Diego, of the three major cities in California.
What's the difference between San Diego and San Francisco? San Francisco, obviously a hillier city, more gay.
San Diego is plenty hilly on its own, but San
Francisco is also pretty gay.
San Diego's also pretty gay,
as two straight white dudes. And by the way, we probably should have prefaced with this. We're two straight white dudes talking about dating across America.
As a straight man looking for a straight woman.
Yeah, we can share our perspective on gay people, but like realistically,
yeah, I have no experience dating gay, despite what many of you might think. But basically,
Jorge Vargas says it depends on the neighborhood.
Yeah, so San Francisco, basically, San Diego is a pretty liberal city, but by California standards, it's on the more conservative side. San Francisco, like you've got, yeah, and so like one thing, and this is something that I didn't even know really existed until my brother moved to Sacramento, but it's even more prevalent in San Francisco, is the whole like open relationships and polyamory thing, which like that's just a very Northern California, very super liberal thing to do.
I feel like that's a much more gay thing, and maybe the gays are rubbing off on the straights.
I don't know, but like my brother told me that like in his friend group in San Francisco, like most of them were in open relationships of some sort, and I said that just sounds like breaking up with extra steps. Which it turned out to be.
No, it is. If anybody knows anything about open relationships or polyamory, it's always a recipe for breaking up. There's no question about it. It's just these relationships don't last unless, of course, you have a what's the one for? It's a DSM-5 word. A little, basically, it's like if you're a little not psychotic. What's the word? You and I are it, basically. What's the word? If you're a little psycho, maybe it'll work.
But no.
If you're a little psycho, maybe you can make it work, but most people can't. What comes into play is jealousy and fear. And it just polyamorous relationships are always a recipe for disaster, unless you're a super narcissist. And narcissist was, by the way, not the word, but if you're a super narcissist, you don't value anybody else. So the polyamorous relationships kind of work. Which, by the way, if you're a super narcissist, LA and the fallout cities are basically.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next one. This one's going to be quick, but like I just picked this one. Like a town like Williston, North Dakota.
I don't know anything about this town, so my guess it must be. How many stoplights do they have in this town?
I have no idea.
You said there was an oil boom that basically brought in hundreds of men.
Yeah, so
my body, hairy, oily, dirty, hardworking men are now driven to this town to work and make money. And of course, you got what's the female population?
Well, it held steady while a whole bunch of men moved there to work the oil fields.
I watched a recent Leonardo DiCaprio movie where he played...
Sasha says nymphomaniac.
No, that was another one.
I mean, I guess that could work for a polyamorous relationship.
I mean, maybe. I watched this. I can't remember the name. It had to do with actually the county, Osage County, which is where I actually did the reality TV show last spring.
In Oklahoma?
In Osage County, Osage are the type of Indians, the tribe that lived there. And what happened was they had, I'm sorry, it's going to take me 2 minutes to tell you the whole story, but you got to pay attention to me, James. I know you're reading text on your screen. That way, look at me. So Osage County, high Indian population area, they struck oil. So what happened was they had this influx of Indian town, then an influx of white men that came to the town. Now, the white men, the Indian people were taken care of. They had regular allowances. The Indian people became super wealthy. They were being paid for the land. They were being paid for the oil. But the white men were the ones doing the work. So what ended up happening was there was a high death rate of married Indian women. And what happened was that Indian women, Indian as in Native American, would marry the white guys. The white guys moved in, had the hots for the Indian ladies. Indian ladies in a relationship married. Indian ladies died. The white man, of course, took over the estate and started getting the benefits. It became beneficiary of the estate rights, which was oil. Now, this went on for like a decade and a half before finally this dying woman brought in the FBI and brought in Washington, D.C. and New York investigators, which, by the way, most of the investigators died. But the Indian women, what they were called, had like this wasting disease. They were being fucking poisoned. So Osage County ended up being a Indian reservation where white men came into work, married the Indian women, killed the Indian women, poisoned them, took over the estate, and basically white men took over the town. How wild is that?
It's wild.
It was like a 2.5 hour movie, crazy movie, great movie. Osage County, by the way, like I just have a little caveat for my heart because of the reality show with the blogs. But that's the last Indian reservation we're talking about. You got Austin, right. Phoenix, Denver, New Orleans.
Let's talk, since we're talking about cities with low grades, let's talk about Utah and Salt Lake City.
Well, let's talk about Utah and Salt Lake City. And Utah's not a city, so.
No, Utah's a state.
Exactly. So Salt Lake City, inside of Utah.
D.
And why is that?
I mean, it's got a reasonable population, but it is so dominated by Mormon culture. And you talked about dating a Mormon girl and her wanting to marry after 2 weeks.
We like hung out and watched a couple of movies, and then she was trying to get married after the third.
Right. So,
by the way, she didn't say we should get married, but that's kind of what was happening. Very cute girl. Like we had fun, hanging out. We didn't obviously sleep together because in the Mormon culture you have to be married to sleep together.
Right, so that just makes it really difficult to date because anybody that you're dating that's Mormon is going to be expecting that, we're going to get married before anything happens. Okay.
Do you remember how I met these people? So we lived in an apartment.
Dude, we've got a bunch of cities to get through.
All right, this is a funny story, and the stories matter because they're funny. So you and I lived in an apartment complex. The apartment complex had a pool and a regular house where people could entertain themselves, and they had a hot tub. So I would go to the hot tub after working out, and I didn't turn the bubbles on or anything. I just sit in the hot tub and relax. So in the hot tub one, it's 8:30, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, and all of a sudden a group of 5 or 6 people get in, and they're having fun. They're like, "Is it all right if we turn the bubbles on?" I was like, "I'm just sitting here. I don't care." So they're talking, and now I'm involved in the conversation. I'm like, "Oh, how do you guys know each other?" And they turned to me and said, "Justin, we're LDS." They said it weird like that, under their breath. Justin, we're LDS. So I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that," because I thought it meant
they had STD or something.
I thought they had leukemia or something. They all came to the hospital. They were partying their asses off, not drinking. They were just having fun, drinking water. So they invited me to a party, and then I coupled up with this other girl, and we spent some time together. But it took me. I didn't know until the next time we went out, and then obviously Google was around back then. I googled LDS. Now LDS I thought was some fucking skin leukemia, blood.
Latter-day Saints.
Latter-day Saints. And of course we did it for a little while. But the Utah Mormons, Latter-day Saint Mormons, same thing. They encourage you to get married before you can have sex. They don't allow you to have caffeine or alcohol. It's like Jehovah's Witness-ish.
All right, let's race through a couple. So DC area and Washington DC.
Super diverse.
Yep. B.
Why?
High income attracts intelligent and attractive people, but it's kind of a transient city. There's not a lot to do outside of politics.
So the serious people live outside the city. The hardworking people, there's a very small minority of hardworking people, diverse people that live deep inside the city. There's some luxury buildings inside that city, but it's it's I don't feel like it's kind of like fly by night. Like you go to a bar, there might be like 6 people in that bar, and it's way different than New York City, where you have that crazy population density on top of the place.
Yeah,
I mean, high population density, but like
in an odd way.
In a weird way that like the selection is so low in a city like DC. So, sorry if you're living in DC, but realistically, like you should move. If your goal is to get married and move somewhere else, DC is probably not where it's going to happen.
Next city
can happen in DC, but
Philadelphia, B.
I would call Philadelphia a D plus.
Really?
Decent population, but very low income. Decent population, very low. Cool things to do. Most of those are sit-up bars. True. But and also limited diversity. I don't
less
know why,
diverse than New York.
I don't know why it's been graded so high. Philadelphia. Like, what are our notes here on Philadelphia? Why is it graded so high?
I think it's unhappier than New York City.
It's totally unhappier, but it's you're landlocked. Your options.
You
are
got
limited.
a river.
Okay, landlocked. Like I said, river doesn't mean shit. In 2025, if you're off a river, you're basically a Mormon. You're like, oh, well, we don't have cars here, but we have horses.
Yeah.
You're traveling by river these days.
There's still a northern culture, which like the more direct culture. There's a decent sized population. There's less to do.
It's like a neutered Boston with a higher population.
Yeah.
There's not as much to do. It's mostly bar culture. You got that same Irish like influx. The diversity is stemming from the inner city, which the inner city is mostly poor. Truth. Also, super high crime rate. Great colleges and universities, super high crime rate.
All right, next city.
All right,
Seattle.
I have no idea.
B plus.
Why?
Similar to San Francisco, it's expensive. There's a fair bit to do. Progressive, can lean a little bit too liberal sometimes. A little bit more of an introverted dating culture, just because, the city gave rise to the whole grunge music scene because it's just a depressing place to be sometimes.
But it's depressing. It rains all the time. It's
gray.
It's like England without the culture. Obviously, you have Starbucks, you have some tech, but you don't have the diversity. You don't have, and everybody wears Birkenstocks and overalls and dress shoes.
Right, so it gets a B plus because for the population and being like more on the more progressive open side.
I think it's probably time to wrap this podcast. We got 90 seconds. So
no, we got 3 minutes. All right, Chicago B plus.
Fair enough.
Dallas B minus. Austin B minus. Phoenix B minus. Denver A plus.
Why?
Fitness focused, outdoorsy culture, large dating pool, great lifestyle and activities. New Orleans C, Nashville C plus, Las Vegas I have no idea.
You're just stealing the culture there. Look, we're wrapping up this podcast. Visit SipTalkPodcast.com. Sorry, we're James time counts a little off from mine. I want to thank you guys for visiting SipTalk Podcast, a live podcast. If you're not live, make sure you subscribe on YouTube. All audio podcast platform. What are they called? Apple Podcasts, Spotify, et cetera, and don't forget to subscribe to YouTube. Like the podcast. We'll see you next time.
New York City real estate agents, it's time to make the move. Keep 100% of your commission. Get access to hands-on agent support and New York City's best agent training, the Slingshot program. Online access to our Agent University and online on-demand video training program. All at DiGiulio. Contact info@DiGiulioGroup.com to make the move.